It was all wrong. You could feel that from miles away. I felt that and then you just start hearing bass attack and you're just like, what the actual is happening? Is this what we're doing right now? Like, what is happening? And it was like a lot of people were freaking out about it. It was all wrong. We were just doing like security checkpoints and patrolling around the city, the airport, not the city, my fault. It felt like gay bar type stuff. You weren't really doing much. You were just like, do your shift, go back home, do some training, go back home. You know, it was just a rinse and repeat until shit started going down super quick and no one knew how the fuck to handle it. They said there's a suspected IED. He was at one of the gates called Abbey Gate, and from what I heard is people saw him and they were trying to get the confirmation to kill him, but they couldn't, and the guy just set off an explosion and killed a lot of people. It was an ISIS guy that was freed from one of the prisons that the Taliban started freeing when the Taliban was trying to overrun the country super fast. Everyone was freaking out because they didn't know what the fuck was happening. We could have prevented a lot of shit from happening. We could have prevented like Operation Allies Refuge from being such a shit show. Those people didn't deserve to fucking die because of that shit, you know? It was just, I don't know, like, it just, I don't know, man, it's just kind of fucking sucks.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Yeah, I did actually. In my house growing up, my brother and I, we'd see like footsteps or hear knocking. We'd be like, what the fuck is that? It was just kind of like, I don't know whether to believe in the paranormal or not, but I tell my parents and they'd be like, well, just try to put like a candle and like say some prayers at night so they don't snatch you up, I guess.
Did you pray?
I did for a bit. Sometimes I forget because I was a little kid. I kind of just got used to it. It just kind of just like the knocking and the footsteps you see just kind of become part of normal life. You're just like, whatever, I guess.
At the airport, did people pray?
A lot of people did. Like a lot of people would like, they would say like they're trying to get some forgiveness for all the bad they done back home, and they wish they could have done this and that better, and they prayed to whatever religion they're part of that they make it back home safe, that they're scared and blah blah blah. Never really seen something like that, so I was just kind of just like, we're gonna be fine. I'll tell them we'd be fine, but deep down I didn't know if we were fucking fine or not. I was just trying to make sure they felt more comfortable. You just kind of have to have that belief, because if you don't, then what's the fucking point, you know? If you're gonna be scared all your life, like, what's the point of living, you know? You gotta have some belief, some hope that you're gonna make it back, and you gotta make sure you make it back and make sure those around you make it back. I'm from Texas, man. My whole family's always been in the military, so I kind of just kept the tradition. Dude, I would always have like the little green army men and stuff, or like my dad would bring home some like different variations of like little green army men, and I'd play with it. So I was like indoctrinated, sort of not indoctrinated, you know what I mean? It's always in your head. With my life, I guess, in a way.
Oh yeah, nothing better than some 2 a.m. Waffle House.
We definitely knew there was a lot of equipment being left behind, because we were like reading a lot of news reports about like compounds being abandoned or blown up and shit. A few times we would get sent to like destroy equipment, and we'd tear down some weapons, try to destroy vehicles as much as we can so that Taliban and ISIS or whoever can't use it anymore. But way too much equipment, way too much weapons and ammo out there for us to all just demolish within the time frame we had to leave. If you were there at the airport, like the military side, it was literally like an entire city, a bunch of barracks in it, a bunch of stores, mess halls. It had like a mosque and like a church. It was crazy. At one point in that night, I don't know who did it, but someone or some people just started shooting heavy machine gun fire towards us and everywhere. Everyone was kind of just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Why is there heavy machine guns firing in all directions? We eventually had to like pull back and go to like inside the military compound eventually over the night because it was like really bad. So funny story. We were like holding the line. We all of a sudden we just started seeing like some tracers like shoot up into the sky, and then we're kind of just like, what the fuck is that? And then it kept getting worse. We were telling everyone to get down. A lot of dudes were freezing up, so we had to like shove them to the ground. I know I'm feeling a little fucked up, but I yelled at a bunch of dudes to get down. They got down. These guys that are near me didn't get down. I looked at them, they looked at me, and they gave me that face. You can tell that face when someone's like scared for their life and they're frozen because they don't know what to do. And they gave me that face and they just stood there. I said in my head, I said, because I don't want to say it out loud, obviously. If you want to die, that's on you, man. I'm getting down. And I got down.
Was there any scenario where you could return fire?
The ROE was very gray. People were struggling at the airport to get like ID of the shooter, so no one was able to really shoot. The ROE, I could understand why it was like that, because there was like crowds of civilians in front of us trying to like rush past us. Quite a few civilians were shot by the gunmen. They couldn't do anything about that, and the families of the people who were shot were like crying and screaming right in front of us and like trying to push us and telling us it's our fault, and we couldn't do anything but just watch. A lot of us were like losing entire families we were trying to save and shit. It was fucking us up a lot. There'd be a whole crowd that were like holding back. Everyone would like flash in the air with their hands up, their passports or whatever. Try to read within that fucking crowd and look at that ID they had and be like, all right, that looks like a U.S. passport. That looks like something like a green card that means that we can save them. As long as they had a U.S. passport, we brought them in. But the pool was usually like the contractors, the Terps, and then the rich people. We would literally have to have them come towards us, whether it was them walking to us or it was us getting inside the crowd and grabbing them and pulling them like towards us to safety. Kind of let the Taliban just basically just murder a bunch of fucking people in front of us, and we didn't do anything about it. We just had to watch. A lot of people begging me to save them, and it was just a lot of people. I mean, the most fucked up one was this family didn't want to die, and they handed me their baby, and I felt the baby, and it was just, I don't know how to explain it. The baby felt frozen, and I looked at it. The baby was pale, and I realized the baby was dead, and I just I didn't know what to do, and I kind of looked at my platoon sergeant, and I asked him, what do we do? And he just said, we can't take anyone else, just give him back to them. And that's what I did. I just gave back the baby to them, and I told them I can't do anything. That was the one that fucked me up the most. I get bothered by like when babies cry and scream now, or like when people are crying and screaming. It just like a lot of that bothers me now. But I mean, I hope I'm progressing better from dealing with shit like that, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It was kind of just like, well, we went through this shit. Don't know how to really deal with this right now. I guess we just kind of got to continue life with all of what happened in our minds now. If you want me to be like blunt about it, I mean, I feel a little more dead inside because of all the fucked up shit, and I feel a little more. How do I say? I was a little careless for a while, but I mean that's usually what happens to some people. It kind of just sort of like whatever after a deployment.
Have you thought about going to therapy?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm not entirely comfortable telling I know it sounds kind of weird, but telling like a civilian all the shit I've been through, that I did, that I saw. I don't think I'd be comfortable telling one of them that, because then they'd probably be like, oh, this dude's a fucking nut. Give him some pills.
Most of the time, they're pretty understanding.
When we talked last, you seemed against the idea of going to therapy. What changed?
Well, basically, I was like, I probably need help because I'm starting to lose my shit a little bit. And I would like to keep my family, you know? And not just be some crazy motherfucker, you know? That doesn't have a family anymore because of his own internal struggles. A little bit like that. Oh man, sometimes I'll just lose my shit at work or I'll lose it at home and I'm like, why the fuck did I just do that? What the fuck is wrong with me? And it took me like 4 or 5 months, I think, 6 months to get a therapist. It took a while. It was a long while. I learned a few tips and tricks on how to help myself and to like cool down and, you know, just relax a little more instead of just being so uptight. And when you're so stressed out that your body's also stressed out and you get to feel it, it's kind of like that. Box breathing, stuff like that. 10-minute meditation stuff, the body analysis meditation where you feel like your entire body.
We're able to like get that feeling of calm.
A little bit, but I'm a very paranoid individual, so sometimes it doesn't really work out too much because I feel like uptight and like you're on like uppers, you're feeling too jittery, and you want it to go away, but it can't. It's kind of like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but it is nice at least to be able to sometimes use those breathing techniques to feel that sense of calm. I think that's super important for like mental health, especially for people who have like PTSD. Feel those momentary respites of calmness.
What technique do you feel has been the most useful?
So one of them is whenever I'm feeling super stressed out, to imagine yourself in your safest space in your mind, which to me was just a blank room of just white. Kind of like, you ever seen The Matrix when Neo goes into that room? She was also like, imagine who you feel safest with. So I said my wife, and then an object that you feel safe with. I said it was a wedding ring that I wore during deployment that I used to like, I'd look at and I'd be like, well, am I doing the right thing or should I think about what would she think about it, you know? And then like the safest sound you feel was just like basically my wife talking to me.
Man, I know it's only been like 8 months, but you sound a lot better than the last time we talked.
Yeah, it sounded like shit.
Just from talking to you today, you come off as way older.
It's called post-traumatic growth. A lot of people, to like cope with trauma, go through a series of like reinventing themselves, both to heal and to also put distance between when they went through it.
If you could tell everybody in the world one thing, what would it be?
Just be yourself, you know? Just do what you gotta do to make your life better. Don't fall towards peer pressure in the crowds, you know? You're your own person. Be that person. Yeah, man. I mean, I can talk to you all day, any day about this stuff and just, you know. Yeah, man. You take care, alright?